Good evening. The special meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not just some of us. All.
Okay, Mr. Gorski, may we please have a roll call?
Certainly. Mrs. Arminio.
Here.
Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mr. Pelori.
Here.
Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mrs. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Tefano.
Here.
Mr. Rutsky.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening.
Thank you.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted June 7th, 2019, at all schools, the Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the only public forum for this evening. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the board, please come to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. We will adhere to our 4-minute time limit. When the timer goes off, your turn is over, and you may only come up once during this public forum.
You're absolutely right. Number one, I didn't know it was a special meeting, so.
Can I please have your name and address for the record?
You don't know yet. Mark Klein, I'm kidding. Mark Klein, 7 Crenshaw Court, Monroe Township. I really came with a lot of things to discuss, but I didn't know it was a special meeting. So I'm just going to hit one thing, and then next week I'll hit you with or bring up other things. As far as the public portions, as I said last time, it would be appreciated if you would notify us when there's 30 seconds left so we can finish. I noticed what happened on the 30th with everybody speaking about the cuts and everything, and I was timing some of them, and they were going 6 minutes, 10 minutes, as much as 12 to 14 minutes. Never were they interrupted to say that they only had 4 minutes left like they do to me. If I have 2 sentences to finish, you're calling the police officer to remove me from the podium when I was almost all finished. So I was glad to see you allowed the people to give their opinions and complete their statements. The other thing I just want to let you know, and we'll address this next week. Did you know that Edison is suing, the Board of Education is suing their zoning board and the planning board over 8 townhouses because of the overcrowding of their schools? Now, I did a rough estimate. I'll give it to you and then I'll be finished. If you take the one around the corner from me, which is Lenore and Edgewood Properties, which is Jack Morris, it's 500 family units. JSM also, Jack Morris, got approval on Perrineville Road for 900 units, of which 800 are families. Shared Properties, which is Perrineville and 33, over 200 families. Arbors, which is next door, 200 families. Toll across 33, my understanding is 150 to 180 units that are going to be condos and townhouses. We don't sue. We don't say a word. There's nobody from this board that comes to a zoning board meeting, I sat on a zoning board, or a planning board meeting to complain. Nobody wants to sue. Yet, and I got a minute. I got my timer here.
Well, we'll go by ours. You got 1:30.
Oh, good, I'll go for that.
25.
No, my point is this. We had, Rob and Mike and I had a talk. I found out that supposedly we have no reason to be able to sue. But I saw lawsuits for more money, districts getting a lot more than we do. I saw districts who were being forced to be cut, like Manalapan's going to be cut $25 million, suing. Why is it that they can sue and we can't? And the last thing, and this addresses Jamesburg, I was under the impression when I was on the board, they owed us $660,000. If I remember, I was told that they were paying it off, that it was all paid off. But then I find out at the last meeting, they owe us $1,600,000. We're paying high taxes. They're getting now, I think it's $15 million a year. And what are we getting, $9 million? I rest my case on time, no problem. The rest I'll handle when we have the next meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Hi, my name is Jyoti, and I'm from 5 Whitson Lane, Monroe, New Jersey. So I sat in the meeting that we had from 5 to 6. I heard all about it, all the budget and everything. We're only thinking about what can we do with the budget that we have. We're not thinking about how can we raise more budget so we can give better school, after-school busing, and all these other things. I did hear about the golf course, but that's not the only thing. And I also heard one of the team members mentioning about South Brunswick had the same issue in the past, and I'm sure a lot of other school districts has something like this, where it was growing population in the area, there were too many kids, and they all accommodated in some way or the other. And South Brunswick is one of the best school districts. So if you ask me, if I ask a friend who wants to move, they say, I want to go to South Brunswick because of better school districts and not Monroe. So what is it that South Brunswick or East Brunswick has done, and what is it that we are lacking? I did reach out to a couple of states, a couple of friends of mine who live in different states a couple of years ago. And some of the schools are offering after-school programs for the children at a paid cost. Like, you know, all the parents, most of the parents, I would say, are working parents. So we come home, we have to drag the kids to a basketball, to a dance class, or a soccer game, or whatnot. What is it that we can do to provide those facilities in-house and generate that income so parents don't have to drive the kids, and at the same time, kids are getting, apart from education, they're also getting a lot of extracurricular activities. And we're not saying it's going to be free of charge. Charge it, just like how, we have a Monroe Sports Center right here. Rather than the parents coming and driving them every single day, why don't we offer like 10 to 15 programs? And I actually want to be one of the team members who is going to be in that proposed list, and the due date is June 30th. And I did hear from one of my friends that the committee is already being formed. If there is a space, I would like to be on board, and I would like to share my ideas. Maybe not all of it is reasonable, and maybe there are some things that I don't know. There could be like insurance, liability of kids, and maybe we can share the thoughts and then bring more money to the school. And rather than cutting things, we might be, people might be talking about Monroe, like it's not just education, but they provide extracurricular activities, but they do charge money. But at the same time, where are we not paying money? We are paying money to Monroe Sports Center. We are paying money when we take them to the dance class. We are paying money everywhere. So collect that money, have it in-house. You might have to hire more staff, but it's definitely, if it is definitely profitable at other places, it should be profitable for us also. So I would be really happy to be part of that meeting, and I can send an email to the board members. I would appreciate if you can consider me having on board, and then trying to share my ideas, come think of it out of a box, because I'm sure you have looked at everything, but there might be fresh ideas which you have not considered. And there are a lot of parents who are with fresh ideas. I would appreciate if you can encourage them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Venetia Patel, 15 El Dorado Way. So according to the last meeting on May 30th, it was stated that a plan would be presented for the after-school late runs for the middle school and the high school. So I'm simply here to ask what actions or moves have been taken towards that plan. And I ask purely because as a club executive, my board and I have to plan for next year's meeting dates and events right now before the academic year closes, and we would like to be as accommodating as possible to our prospective new members coming up from the middle school.
Thank you for that question. We had a discussion today in Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation. We did discuss some of the issues, and it was suggested that the administration go back and look at coming up with a not necessarily a solution, but their recommendation going further and bringing it to the Finance Committee next next Wednesday before the board meeting. We'll have a Finance Committee at 4:30. So they will bring a recommendation to that committee, and then we'll see where we go from there.
So will that recommendation or any more details about that plan be presented to the public on the 19th meeting?
It depends on the outcome of the Finance Committee.
All right, thank you.
Roger Maney, 22 Harrigan Avenue. I sat in the meeting prior, and one thing I just wanted to put on the record, and I spoke to Mr. Gorski and Mr. Polari about, was the curb and sidewalk fund that builders have to pay into when they don't put curbs and sidewalks in. I'm going to Oprah what's in that. But the builders have set that scenario where we don't have the curbs and sidewalks and they have to pay that cost to the town. And that money can be used anywhere within the town. And I don't know if anybody else can Oprah or get with somebody who would have that information before I would get it, so that way you could expedite your needs as far as finding that money. But I am going to send an Oprah request tonight asking about how much money exists there and could it be used for, you know, the late bus, because I think the number was around 68,000 or something. And I'm sure the builders have put way more than that in over the past few years of development without sidewalks and curbs. So that's all. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Sri, 20 Jake Place. Just want to ask the BOE a question about the late busing. In the last meeting when I sat, it was the last week meeting, right? A lot of public that came over here, they shouted, they said, we need our rights, you know, we need our kids to go to the school. And you overruled the decision that was made. And we're here again to talk about the late busing. I want to know how the BOE is functioning. The people have to come and shout here that we need our things back. You then make a decision, but not completely. How is it fair? You give it to some people, but not to the entire community. Like now, since nobody has showed up today, you're going to just let the late busing run? I want to understand how the late busing is not, the decision was not overruled as opposed to the elementary school busing that you said that's granted at this point, I guess, right? I'd like to understand how the BOE
Yes, that has
functioning.
been reinstated.
Yeah, but I would like to understand the BOE functioning, right? People have to come at this podium, start yelling at the BOE for the right back, for the rights to be back, or why is the late busing is not overruled as well?
As I said to the young lady that came up a few minutes ago, we discussed it today in Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation. It also needs to be discussed in finance because it's not just a matter of reinstating something. When you put something in the budget, you have to take something else out of the budget. We have asked the administration for a recommendation, which will come before the Finance Committee next Wednesday and see what their recommendation is.
Okay, that's all fair, right? So why is it not done the same way for reinstating the elementary school busing?
Because at last week's meeting, when we had a motion to reinstate the courtesy busing through Oak Tree and Woodland Avenues, that was not part of the motion. We only voted on the courtesy busing part, not the 4:30 late busing.
There were a lot of people outside here who were yelling that it is unfair for the rest of the Monroe Township. And I heard a lot of people shouting, right? Every board member here sure must have heard. So are you saying that you just ignored those shouts and those public shouts are not reasonable? Or you don't really care about those public shouts? Why is the motion only passed for the elementary busing? I have my kid going to the middle school. She will be in high school coming summer, right? What she would have to do, I would have to come back from the work, pick her up every day. I lose my salary just for the $200 or $200 per month that I have to pay. Is that what it's come down to? I want to know the fairness here, right? People come here, shout at the board, you get the things done. Why is the motion only passed for the elementary busing, not for the late run buses? And you're telling me excuses that he has to go through the whole loop again to get the approvals. Why not the same thing has been done for the elementary school busing reinstation?
Because as I said at the last meeting that we had, the motion was made to reinstate courtesy busing for the Oak Tree and Woodland Avenues areas, but there was no motion made to reinstate the 4:30 busing runs. So we did bring it back to committee, which is the appropriate way to do it, and we will also bring it back to Finance Committee.
Okay, so last request, I urge the people in the BOE here. So there's nobody in the BOE would stand up here today to pass a motion to reinstate
30 seconds.
the late busing service here? I would request one of the board member to please pass a motion today to reinstate the late busing. It is unfair for the Monroe Township, having something pass, something not pass. People show up here, yell at the board, and you take care of some you don't. It is totally unfair. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Hi, Pradeep, 4 Jake Place. So in the last meeting, the administrator has promised that he will come with some solution regarding the late busing for the BGNT meeting. In BGNT meeting, I don't hear any proposal from him. I don't understand, like, we still have, like, before recess, we still have only one BOE meeting, and he has to give the proposal to Finance Committee has to come to BOE, and BOE has to approve that. It's a long process. So I would like to understand what's not happened between the May 30th and June 11th, how it is going to happen on between June 11th and June 19th.
The difference is that we have committee meetings scheduled where
Yes,
he will.
but in the last meeting, administrator himself, he himself told that he will come with some solution for the BGNT meeting.
And he's supposed to bring it to the Finance Committee and
Yeah,
the
but in BGNT meeting, they don't discuss any solution.
Well, we should have a recommendation from the Finance Committee, from the administration, next Wednesday at 4:30.
Okay.
Is a scheduled Finance Committee meeting.
Okay. I would like to know what are all the items that you guys cut just to restore Oak Tree and Woodland schools busing.
I do not have that list with me.
But you said it's reinstated. It's reinstated means there is something already cut on the other side to reinstate these buses.
Yes, Mr. Gorski.
The motion at the last meeting was to reinstate the courtesy busing at Woodland and Woodland
Oak
and
Tree.
Oak Tree. That has been established. Where the funds are going to come from to establish that motion
Yes.
has yet to be determined. It's going to be a process that we're involved in now, combing through the budget.
Okay.
Again, assessing estimates that were used in the budget, because we do make use of estimates in the budget process, to see how they're materializing, to see if we have monies that can be transferred to offset that. I'm confident we will, but we have not identified those resources yet.
Oh, so my problem with that is if that is not made public, you are going to cut something else which might be drastically affect our kids' lives and our lives. We would like to know the proposals before you guys accept it blindly and make people 200, 300 people show up here and then make the scene again. I don't want that to be happen for the sake of our township. Thank you.
Krishna Dekale, 11 Jake Place. I have a question. We have a budget for this year. Just wanted to know where have we overrun the budget and where have we underrun the budget for this year? Just trying to see if that could give us some insights into what we can save going into the next budget.
Mr. Gorski, can you answer that?
Yes. Last year, as reported in the comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended June 30, 2018, there was surplus of approximately $5 million. We are working on those calculations this year by projecting that as of this juncture now to see where we're going to be when we close the books in a few days. So we're calculating that now. There'll be more information provided to the board shortly. That excess surplus calculation is a critical carryover of savings from budgets to future budgets. And I want to make one point. If surplus was depleted, which we had occur here last year from $6 million to $5 million, automatically you have a constricted budget in a future year by $1 million because of that shortfall of revenue. So Mr. Goodall, Dr. Alvick, and I have done a very extensive job managing the budget throughout the year. We are calculating those areas where we have saved money now. We're going to present that information shortly.
So the $6 million or the $5 million that you spoke about is from the budget that started in September through June of this year.
The $5 million was available and incorporated into the budget for 1920.
So that is already, I mean, was it on the books before the year started, and then are we adding something from this year? Or?
The $5 million of surplus was carried over from 2 years ago, and it was a revenue source in the 1920 budget, which the budget is balanced.
Okay.
The budget right now is imbalanced by the amount of cuts that were restored at the last meeting, and we're looking for savings now, or some estimates that maybe we have overshot on revenues, somewhere to adjust that, and I don't have that answer yet.
So the information or the money that we get that's extra this year will be put into the 2020 budget, the 2021 budget, not this year's budget.
The surplus that we are calculating now for the year ended June 30, 19 will carry over 2 years later
Right.
into the 21, 22.
Right, so right now, our budget is set, and we can't add anything to the budget.
That's correct. You could
Yes.
transfer to and from within, and that's what we're looking to do now. We're looking to find resources to match those cuts that were restored.
Right, that's good answer, and I'll probably, we can chat again to see where we saved money this year, right? The next question I have is, if you are expecting more number of students to come in, that would literally translate into more families coming in. That would be tax revenues going up. Why are we still looking, because we have a growing student population, can't we go back and say we need to readjust our budget and probably increase it, go past the 2%, or you're still stuck with 2%?
You are stuck with the 2%. The
Okay.
state will tell you to live within your means despite that heavy enrollment growth. It's a wonderful observation you just made. We have taken that to the state previously, and the door was closed on any additional revenues for the growth that we are feeling. And to add insult to that, there are districts with declining enrollment that had stabilized flat aid for a number of years, and that I contend was at our expense.
Right. So are we doing anything to go back and ask for more funding? I think the funding for this year is locked. Any way we can go back as the community and ask for more funding from the state government for next year, up more than what they were supposed to give us?
Yes, madam?
Yes.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was speaking with Mr. Pelori earlier today, and as part of the Educational Advocacy Committee, we will be drafting letters to local legislators pointing out the hardships that we're having in certain areas of managing the operations here, and requesting some additional funding.
And a carry on to this is there are a few bills that have been introduced in the legislature that talk about consolidating school districts and everything else. Did we look at any school district that we could quote unquote merge with or acquire, so that our funding would go better, higher up?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, we were invited at the request of the Roosevelt School District, which is about 20 minutes in the Millstone area.
Mm-hmm.
And we visited their superintendent and members of the Board of Education last week, and we toured their facility. They are a small district with declining enrollment, and they had some severe budget cuts under S2, plus the choice funding for the choice students that they received was drastically cut. So they're having a great financial difficulty and looking for some kind of merger or regionalization relief. We met with them, we explored any possibilities there. We have not come to any conclusion at this time on that particular school district's option.
All right. When that decision be made, or is there a decision being planned for this year or for next school year?
There is no plan for regionalization immediately on the table. We're just exploring.
Sure, all right, thank you.
But I'd like to say too, while the board, everybody asks the board to could talk to our legislators and write letters and everything, it's also helpful for our community to do the same thing. So write a letter and have a petition sent out, or have everybody write a letter to the legislators, not just the 10 people on the Board of Education. The more people they hear from, the louder we speak, the more they hopefully will listen to us.
Right, we agree with you, and that's one of the things that I brought out is how can the community help you? It's always like they say, these quick.
Write letters to your legislators.
Right, sure, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Vish. I'm 47 Green Street. Just I want you to give the numbers. I think you guys already know. The Oak Tree bus is, I think it's 192K, and the Woodland buses is 64K. After school program is about 68K. I hope you guys know this. So we got approved 192K for Oak Tree and 64K for Woodlands. The only we are waiting for 68K. So that's we are waiting for finance to get approved. I just want to give more information on about club, and my daughter trying to start the new club, and she got signatures about 200 people, and she got approved from vice principal, and when she went to the principal, is declined, is saying that, so there is a lot of clubs, we don't want to have a new club. So we asked the reason why we cannot go more clubs when people are interested to join in the new club. Then we got answer is there is no funds in the school to start the new club. So I also offered, if it is required really funds, I'm willing to pay whatever required for that club, whatever my daughter is starting. So is there anything, I didn't understand what is our intention, why we are cutting buses for after school. So eventually you're going to cut down the all after programs, after club, clubs later on. When there is no buses, students not going to join, automatically the clubs will be empty, so that literally this goes down. School rating also goes down eventually. See, do you have any plan to add more clubs and the courtesy bus for after school? I know you guys discussed already about the courtesy bus for after school. I want to know answer from some of you guys, is there any reason why we don't want to open more clubs?
The clubs, any clubs that have to or would like to be created, has to go through the high school principal, and then it goes to the curriculum committee for their review.
Okay, I think we did it, but I think in the principal himself is declined. So is there anything we can do it? Maybe if it really required for funds, maybe I can collect from my friends or from me and to start the new club. So we are fine with that. So is there any other reason why we cannot start the new clubs?
Again, any new clubs have to become from the students. It goes, if they need to have a certain amount of, Dory, maybe you can explain it a little better, because I know they have to have a certain amount of people.
As a parent, I can do something, so I can do it.
Yes.
Each year, the assistant principal who's in charge of the clubs at the high school does an audit of all of the clubs. And in the past, we have cut clubs if there wasn't the enrollment, or sometimes it's the students that started it have now graduated and they're no longer in the school, so there's not an interest in that club. So he takes a look at that to see in the budget. We are not adding new clubs in the budget, but if there's a club that's no longer working, then there's the possibility of starting a different club. But there's no new clubs in the budget because of our 2% cap and our increased enrollment.
Where I can find the list of clubs that is closed for last year, or what is the new clubs is in April or this year. So I don't know how I can find out.
Mr. Colella would be the person to talk to at the high school, and the list of clubs is on our district website, but I don't know which ones have
I didn't find any that closed.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know. Mr. Colella would be the one at the high school to talk to about that. He has the list of clubs. I don't know what clubs will not be running next year. That Mr. Colella does that.
Thank you.
Hi, Surendra Anchula, 22 Jake. I think from the last outcry, the courtesy busing was restored for Oak Tree. Now, what happens to the tag students from next year? Like, and are they gonna have the bus service for the kids that go to tag?
Madam?
Go ahead.
The TAG, Talented and Gifted Program at
Yep.
the middle school is part of the curriculum, and as such, the district identified that we're required to provide the transportation services, so they were never cut.
Okay.
The TAG buses at the middle school were still in place.
Okay. So what happens to the courtesy busing next year? Because the safety conditions or the kids' age or whatever outcry from a lot of residents like May 30th, none of those physical conditions are going to change in a year. The kids' age is going to be the same with the new kids. The roads are going to be still unsafe. I think the Stratford Meadows, they don't have the walkways. So you guys have probably a year to jumpstart those discussions. So what's the plan on that? I mean, do we have to come back again 300 people next year? That's the question.
Right now, courtesy busing for students at the Oak Tree area and the Woodland area has been reinstated.
For this
So
year?
they will be able to be bused to school and home from school
For this year.
for this year.
My question is for the 2020 calendar year.
In the
2020.
future,
Yep.
that's something that has to be looked when we do the budget next year. Everything is on the table all the time. We try not to hurt programs and staffing, but there are things that we have to look at if we're going to have to add trailers to the middle school and the high school. And we know that no matter what we do, there will be people who will not be happy with any decision we make. And that's something that the Board of Education is going to have to take a look at, as well as the administrators.
Okay. One last question. Was there any STEM programs cut because of the courtesy busing or?
STEM programs?
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
So when will we know what has been cut to restore the courtesy busing?
Well, we have a finance committee meeting next Wednesday, so
Okay.
hopefully we'll have some kind of an answer at that time.
Okay.
And then we have a board meeting following
Alright, so I
that
said,
night, on the 19th.
Okay, I said last question, but I have one more question. So out of the 10 buses that were cut this year, there was some proposals or recommendations or suggestions, whatever you want to call, reduce the number of buses from 6 to 3 or maybe 3 to 5, whatever, and make the same bus go from one community to the other community and pick up all the kids to maintain the courtesy busing. This is just a suggestion. I know it's far-fetched you got one more year to figure this out, but this is something I want to recommend. Like reduce the number of buses, make these buses go all the communities. Yeah, the 5-year kid or 6-year kid is gonna sit on the bus for probably half hour, but still worth rather than walking on a 40 miles per hour road. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I understand I was also at the ground and transportation meeting, and the 2% cap, which is imposed by the government, state is hurting us. There is a way so that we write in advance of 1 year to the Middlesex County and the state, showing the overgrowth in our overcrowding of the school and overgrowth, and we need the funding so that 2% cap can be removed and extended. So that is the one question I have. So that can be done.
Do you want to answer that?
Madam, I believe the gentleman asked if we could lobby to get relief with the 2% cap.
Yes.
Because it is causing hardship on the district, and certainly we could look at that at the Educational Advocacy Committee to incorporate that with our request for additional state aid.
No, officially writing a letter, not lobbying and all. Officially, is there a law which allows you with burden, with the law, not going and lobbying, and take advantage of that law and write in advance so that this 2% cap can be removed? So we can talk about it later because I have limited time.
Madam, there's an important concept here. The Board of Education can elect to have an election to the public to go above the 2% cap if approved by the state.
Okay.
That is one option that we have. The Board of Education did have a second question out to the public many years back, you may recall, with full-day kindergarten. It was overwhelmingly defeated, And the board has had the philosophy over the years to be respectful to the taxpayers and live within the 2% cap.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I understand. Because of time, I want to go to the next one. Sorry for that. The one thing is, Madam President, we are writing letters to the, I also wrote a letter to you all yesterday. Same letter is going on. More than 50 people have already sent a letter. So we in public also are lobbying for certain bills. And I know that we are all together. I went and talked to the council. There are many councilmen are also on our side, right, for the special education. There are 3 bills. I'm sure many of the BOE members are with that. So we will lobby for it together. The bill S-3219 is very, very important. The current formula estimates the number of students, special education students, depending on the census, and not actual number of students in the school. So if this bill passes, I definitely know that our funding will increase with respect to special education. And also it is good sometime to invite our legislators, Senator Greenstein and Assemblyman Benson and D'Angelo, to come and sit in the BOE meeting and look at what parents are frustrated with. Also the Board of Education is frustrated with how the hands are tied. So that is very important. And it is nothing wrong. Edison sued the Planning and Zoning Board, whatever. We don't want to sue. We want our county to be, township to be united. But you all have every right to write to the Zoning Board and Planning Board not to approve any buildings with variances. Okay?
30 seconds.
Yeah. Variances. So that should be taken into consideration. So write a letter saying that now they are building another 200 houses or so next to senior center, where the kids are going to go. So those are the issues. Okay. And lastly, today, think of the motion for the 68,000 we need. Pass a motion and say, well, let the busing be restored for the Tuesday and Thursday for the late busing. Let it go through. We'll all be happy. Hope we'll hear good news on June 19th for the people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Gazala Bora, 1 Miko Drive. Mr. Gorski, did I hear you right that you said the tag buses are not going to be impacted for the following year?
Madam?
Yes.
The TAG, Talented and Gifted Transportation Services, delivering those students from the middle school home after the programs after school, has never been cut. That's part of the curriculum and is mandated, so that was never one of the cuts proposed to the board.
Even the elementary tag buses. So none of those are going to be impacted in this
Correct.
budget cut. So I would like to bring this to the table that and I've heard this from administrators, that for years we've been trying to revamp our tag program. Most of the school districts, the good ones, do a pull-out tag program where the students don't have to stay back an hour after school. It's almost like punishing a student for being smart. I say that because I have, all my 3 children are in tag programs, and once they get to middle school, it's about, what do I let my child do, a club or a tag program that's not really adding so much value? So I feel like all other school districts, it's about time that we did tag as a pull-out program during school hours and not put our resources into transporting kids, into making them stay an hour after school, into missing sports clubs. I think it's about time we started to look at talented and gifted programs like all other good districts do. Wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to that. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Alvick?
We are doing that. We are rolling it up. We have kept it after school. Next year, we've already put it back during the school day in our cluster classes in 3rd, 4th grade. Next year, we only have 5th grade tag, and we are moving it up as the students move through the program.
Okay, because I have a kid in the cluster classroom and who also goes
Cluster
to tag.
class is tag. So it is now.
But he also goes to tag after school.
Yeah, well,
So
because we didn't want to get rid of the tag program for the students who are already in the after-school program. So we started with a 3rd grade when we did it a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Last year, we moved 4th grade to during the day. Yes, we still have cluster groups during the day, but we're moving the after-school program out.
So
We're also moving the basic skills program. We've removed it out of the elementary after-school next year, and it will be during the day. So we've
Excellent.
also done that too, in hopes that, as someone else mentioned earlier, The following year, after we have now gotten rid of all of the after-school mandated programs, basic skills and tag, to maybe look at putting in some type of an enrichment program that parents could pay for after-school programs at the elementary level.
That
So
makes a lot
we
of
are
sense.
looking at that. We have been working toward that.
Dr. Alish, how about the middle school program? Because I
It
know
would
there's no
continue to
cluster.
move up toward the middle school.
So there's no cluster in middle school, but you would incorporate it into the day?
We are looking at that and how it works in a middle school schedule. It's a little bit different at the middle school. So
So
are
we don't
looking at
have
that.
a timeline yet for that? though,
Not
right?
for the middle school, no.
Okay. My next question was about the cost of the high school orientation in the summer. Can I get a number as to what did we save by getting that out of the budget? Mr. Gorski?
Madam,
Yeah.
we talked about this at Building Grounds Transportation. The combined cost for the program plus the transportation was approximately $25,000.
And if we had people volunteer to run the program, would we save on the cost of overtime, salaries? Was there any discussion, because I had to step out of that meeting early for my child shuttling duties, was there any conversation on, out of the box methods to keep the program in?
There have been some discussions of out-of-the-box ideas that would be done at the end of the school year instead of at the beginning of the school year, that they could incorporate while the kids are still here and not have to incur any additional expense for that.
So the incoming freshman year will suffer from this cut? The next year's class might not suffer because we will probably think of something, but because I have an incoming freshman, so I'm asking from that point of view. Is there any resolution to that for this year's freshmen?
Not that I know of.
And there is no possibility of coming up with a volunteered orientation?
Something we need to consider, but not that I know of.
Okay.
And your time is up.
Do we take the time out for replies, or, because I just have one more thing. I can make it really quick?
That would not be fair to anybody else who would like extra time also.
I don't believe there's a line behind me, Madam
That's okay.
President.
Somebody else would have liked the extra time also.
All right, because I feel like I did not speak that much. I heard more than I spoke. If you could make a consideration, I just have a really quick thing.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. I'm just a little, I just want to point out, as it's been said, last time at this special meeting, last week, whenever it was, a couple weeks ago, a motion was made on the cuff, because there was a crowd of people here, to put back in $256,000. That was for the courtesy busing for Woodland and Oak Tree. And now we're talking about $68,000 for after-school buses that directly impact the high school students and the middle school students. At the high school, it directly impacts children being able to come for extra help, students to come and take tests that they've missed. How are we going to, what is the plan for that? Because they're not allowed to go during lunch periods to their teachers for extra help. That's what we do, that's what they do after school. There's no opportunity during a school day for a student to meet with a teacher to get extra help. They stay after school. And they do that on the days that the buses are provided, Tuesdays and Thursdays. What is the plan for that? Before you cut that, did you discuss that? Was that ever discussed, what you were going to do? But yet you were able to just make a motion off the cuff because this room was filled with people upset for their children's safety, rightfully so, and you put back $256,000 into the budget. But we can't put $68,000 that is going to dramatically impact the high school students' opportunities and the middle school? A couple of months ago, I came here and I asked about a random $41,000 expense that was being voted on for Schoology. I was told that it was the answer that parents were looking for, that it was going to give parents the opportunity to see what their children were doing. I went back and researched it. I'm a parent of a high school student that has Schoology. I don't have access to it. That's just for the students. But here we were that night, out of nowhere, just $41,000. Let's approve it. But we can't approve $68,000 that directly impacts thousands of students in our district. I find that hard to believe that we could just make a motion for 256,000, but tonight you can't make one for 68? But yet, in the same meeting that you reinstated that, we also voted on giving a raise to an administrator. Where does that money all come from? I mean, the decisions that are being made and the votes that you're taking as a board, these directly impact our students. So you've heard from hundreds of parents, this $68,000 should be, a motion should be made tonight to reinstate that. It dramatically impacts our students. It's not, just a bus. It's opportunities. It's opportunities that carry over to college. It's opportunities that carry over into careers. Cutting that is drastic. And the fact that I don't think that was actually sat down and discussed with the board as a whole of how that was going to impact the students, it's not right. It's unfair to the students of our district. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Komal Desai, 5 Lily Court. This is the first time I'm coming up here and speaking, but I was here at the last meeting, and it was really helpful for me to understand the overall process. But this time I'm here because my daughter is going into middle school, and I echo some of the feelings that others have said, is that we have, on the spot approved the courtesy busing for Oak Tree and Woodland, but we couldn't do the $68,000 for the middle school. I really think it's unfair for parents who work, and those kids may never get that opportunity to go to after-school clubs because they can't come pick them up. So I really don't think it's fair for those middle schoolers and eventually high schoolers that they would never, they would never have that opportunity to go into clubs. So I really feel that a motion should be made here. A motion should be made here today. To reinstate the $68,000. I don't think it's a big deal in the larger scheme of things. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing no one, we will close public forum. And at this time, we will go to the superintendent's report with Mr. Goodall.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Very brief superintendent's report. Just some personnel action items. Madam Board President and members of the Board of Education, it is recommended that personnel action items A through B under the superintendent report be approved by consent roll call.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Ryback, any comments or questions for Mr. Goodall? Okay, seeing none, we will have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through B has passed unanimously.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to the closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 to 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: superintendent evaluation, superintendent contract negotiations. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I need a motion. Mr. Chiarella, Mr. Pelori, all in favor?
Madam, before you go, I'd just like to make a comment that I still have an objection to having eliminated the public forums after this, and especially after we go into closed session, we come out and we take action, and I know it was changed by the majority of people in policy. I think it's unfortunate that if we take action on a closed session item, that the public can't speak to that, that you don't have a public forum for the public to speak to that during the night that action was taken. I just want that on the record, please.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, at this time, I have a A resolution, it is recommended that the Board of Education appoint Mr. Steve Ryback as temporary board secretary for this meeting in accordance with NJSA 18A:16-1.1.
Second.
Who was the first? Oh, Mr. Chiarella? Mr. Tefano? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at this time, we will move into closed session, and I'm going to guess it's going to be an hour. If it's more than that, we will be out to let you know. Okay, at this time, the Board of Education is back in public session, and I have a resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the previously submitted employment contract between the Monroe Township Board of Education and Dr. Dory L. Avick for the period of July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022 at an annual salary of $187,405 for the 2019-2020 school year, to $191,153 for the 2020-2021 school year, and $195,454 for the 2021-2022 school year, which employment contract has been approved by the Executive County Superintendent of Schools in accordance with NJAC 6A:23A-3.1. It is further recommended that the Board of Education appoint Dr. Dory L. Avick as the Superintendent of Schools in the Monroe Township School District in accordance with the terms and conditions of the aforementioned employment contract. The Board President and the Business Administrator Board Secretary, as the attesting witness, is authorized to execute the aforementioned employment contract on behalf of the Board. I need a motion and a second. Mrs. Lang, and second by Mrs. Siegel. You're the BA now. Okay, Patty Lang.
BS.
Rupert.
BS. Board Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Rutsky.
That's not very nice.
Okay, any comments or questions? Then, Mr. Board Secretary, I need a roll call. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Arminio.
No.
Mr. Chiarella.
No.
Ms. DeMeo.
Yes.
Ms. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Ms. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Tufano.
No.
Ms. Kalapanowicz.
Yes.
Ms. Kalapanowicz, the motion passes.
Okay, congratulations, Dory. We, as a Board of Education, look forward to working with you for the next 3 years, and I don't know if you have anything you'd like to say at this time, and we'd like to wait till the next meeting when there's more public here.
I can do that. I just want to say thank you to the board for your faith in me, and I look forward to continuing all the work that we've done for the last 5 years together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Gorski?
Having been excluded from the process, as is appropriate, I just wanted to comment that on behalf of the administrative team, we welcome Dr. Alvik. She is an incredible educational leader, and I can attest to that for working with her over the past few years. And it's an inspiration to all of us that she is the first female superintendent in this district's history to be appointed to the top job. And we have, if anybody visits the business office, we have a very old teacher's contract that is framed and put on the wall, and it's probably at least 100 years old or so. Think about all of the female staff that have gone through this district, and Dr. Alvik has finally hit the top notch, and it's impressive to all of us.
Thank you. Mr. Pelori?
Kathy, I want to congratulate Dory as well. I know that we're fortunate enough to have some good candidates within the district, and I think both of them have done extremely well. But more importantly, I want to thank Robert Goodall for all the great service that he gave, stepped up at a time of crises and did a fantastic job. And I truly appreciate all his efforts. He stood solid through the referendum timeframe. And definitely, we have a tremendous amount of faith in Dr. Alvik, and we're looking forward to working with her. Congratulations, Dory.
Okay, no one else? Then our Finance Committee meeting is going to be held at 5 o'clock on June 19th before the Board of Education meeting. I know we said 4:30 before, but it's going to be held at 5 o'clock. So our next scheduled Board of Education meeting is June 19th, 2019, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Monroe Township High School. Motion to adjourn?
Kathy, will the meeting be here again, since it will be before the?
Yes.
Meetings? Okay.
I believe I will let you know, but I believe so. We'll check with Dr. Alvik and, yeah.
Finance curriculum and then out here for the.
Right. Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. DeMayo, Mr. Rutsky, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then the meeting is adjourned.